Very good evening, everyone. Welcome to GW Prime Live. Your where is here. We are again here for a very insightful discussion on unlocking the power of geospatial for a better world. Geospatial data, geospatial insights, geospatial intelligence, and the power of visualization is increasingly more critical today in an interconnected world where we see disruptions, we see fast transformations, and we see the bid for change, and we see equally the race to manage things and the contest to stay ahead of the curve, be it in innovation, be it in social change, or be it in driving social impact. To discuss this topic and much more in detail, we have a very esteemed panel today, and we welcome them. Let me first welcome Len Kne from who is Associate Director at the University of Minnesota in USA. Hi, Len. Welcome to GW Prime Live.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Welcome. Let me also welcome Brigadier Ali Alshehhi, who is the Director of National Space Science and Technology Center in UAE.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Welcome, sir. Let me now welcome Miriam Olivares, who is from the Yale University Library. She is a librarian, computational methods and data. Hi, Miriam.
Yes, hello everyone, and I'm excited to be here too.
Yeah, that's great. So I will first start with, as I was reading about a McKinsey report and all of these big reports, be it from McKinsey, from World Bank, from PwC, from Deloitte, they have a common recurring thread, a leitmotif, and that is that we are living in a very disruptive world and there are some common global challenges. And as we have heard, we cannot monitor what we can't measure, and identifying something on a map, digitally placing its coordinates is the key to finding solutions. So, what does the panel think are like the biggest challenges that we face today, and how can we geospatially tackle them? I'll start with Len.
Yes, thank you. The world is struggling to find sustainable solutions to our greatest social and environmental challenges. Achieving the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals requires implementation at every level of society, from individuals and institutions to communities, regional governments, national level programs, and intergovernmental exchanges. This is my biggest threat. We have a path through the SDGs, a framework to address huge issues in the world, but we're not nearly reaching the ability or the what can be done with the SDGs. The world is at a crisis at the SDG midpoint. From the UN SDG 2023 report just a few months ago, they stated we cannot simply continue with more of the same and expect a different result. We have this framework. To achieve national commitments requires stronger subnational and international connections across all scales and sectors with a geographic approach. This interaction of the SDGs at distinct locations or place is essential to consider, but adds complexity to advancing the goals. This is our world, right? The where, he talked about that. Local scale adds multiple initiatives and inherently can interconnect because they're working with the same population. We have a framework, we have a direction, we need to start implementing it as geospatial professionals. We have a big role in that.
That's very well said. As is often said, the geospatial community is at the heart of change management and at the heart of making an impact, of devising innovative and impactful solutions. Now, I'll get to Brigadier Ali Alshehhi. Sir, what do you think is the biggest challenge, and how can geospatial get at the root of it?
I think I will add a little bit to the continuity what previously said. I think the SDGs is a driving road for us to continue working on all these areas, on all the challenges we face, on the climate change and the mitigation plan for all that. Today, I think we all facing the real world. It's not a plan anymore. The climate change is happening, and I would really like to share with you what's happening with us today in the UAE. We have seen the highest rain we have never seen in our life. For the last 75 years, the last 2 days, we really got a tremendous amount of water. This put us in actually in a situation, in an emergency crisis. We are revisiting all those strategies, plan, and the geospatial data, of course, it plays a pivotal role on solving those issues. We have seen decision being taken in a few days, rather than following the SDGs and even country strategies, country plans. But when you are in a crisis, to react to that, you really need the geospatial data and the technology, and also the gathering point, locally or globally. Today, the climate change is not local in the UAE, but it's a global things happening around us. I think us working together on from the previous sectors here, academia, industry, and also government. I think the decisions today require that. So for us to empower that decision, we needed to get together. Even us as academia today, as a research center, we contributed with data, but also we have been asked to revisit a lot of things in collaboration with the industry, how we work out the new strategy, new plans for it.
That's
Yeah.
giving me a lot of food for thought, especially when we talk a lot about collaboration, when we talk about a lot of interdisciplinary approach and constantly innovating and designing not just better solutions, but solutions that are user friendly, that are that have a more customizable interface. So now I'll get to Miriam. Miriam, what do you think about it?
Yeah, I thought while I hear my colleagues, I was thinking, instead of trying to explain what the challenges are, we know what the challenges are. I like to I'm a storyteller kind of. So I like to just share a couple of thoughts that I have. One is about water scarcity. Back in 2017, we invited some international speakers from Sweden. I'll tell you the story. In Somalia in 2011, there was a major drought. I believe that we lost around 250,000 human lives. So 5 professionals in Somalis in Sweden were having dinner, and they heard that the 2017 drought would be even worse. So they thought they wanted to do something about it. They didn't know GIS, but they thought they would want to create a web mapping application to capture all the water crisis and inform in the field. And is what they did. They created a Bahara. I'm sure I'm pronouncing it wrong, but what happened with that application is that instead of 250,000, when they came to present at Yale, they told us that there were only 58 known deaths. The reason why is because it became the primary source of information during the crisis, and victims were communicating with NGOs and those who could help them and give relief. Now, for health, for the pandemic, COVID pandemic, fast forward, we think about this amazing COVID dashboard that was published by Johns Hopkins University with the support of the Esri Living Atlas team and many other groups. Um, um, this was a fantastic application that became the #1 source of information, even over big NGOs that we have that were very busy trying to provide information. So even the world leaders were using the dashboard for decision making. And then if you think about whose idea was that, the idea was proposed by Encheng Dong, a grad student working with Professor Laura Gardner in the civil and engineering department, not even in a department that is natural to study GIS or remote sensing. So same thing at Yale. Just last week, the Yale Humanitarian Research Lab just released a report about arsones, and they've been conducting this amazing sophisticated analysis with remote sensing and artificial intelligence. So what I'm trying to tell here is all these stories. We know the data is not readily available when these ideas come and the innovation comes. And acquiring and curating the data is extremely challenging. But the reason I think it is possible is because the awareness of geospatial technology was there with the individuals that were making decisions. The knowledge they had, um, either by having previous knowledge or at least gathering knowledge, reaching out to those who can teach them, and then the technology developed is already available at that time. So I believe that geospatial technology can help. We need to prepare and be ready before major catastrophes strike. We need to have the workflows in place, the technology ready to ingest data. The data might not be there, but at least we need to have everything else ready to go, so we can make timely decisions. We also need to create a strategic partnerships with academia, NGOs, government and private sector to bring all the experts to the table. I am really hopeful that the world will reach a point where geospatial literacy will be available, if not in every household, at least in some schools and all communities across the world. We need that. We really need that. And we must work diligently to accelerate the dissemination of geospatial knowledge and the development of geospatial solutions. And that's why I'm so passionate about the work I do at Yale.
That's actually a very worthy point, especially what you said about the need to disseminate geospatial knowledge and the need to start geospatial curriculum right at the school level to the colleges and to universities. Because what we are seeing since COVID, we are seeing a lot of black swan events, we are seeing a lot of unforeseen disruptions that just wreak havoc on everything, and then the world comes to standstill, and then geospatial and location intelligence comes to the rescue, be it in vaccines or be it in alternative supply lines. So coming from this premise, my next question is, academia and industry are often said to work in tandem. Like what research and brainstorming and ideation happens in academia then trickles down to the industry, and then innovative solutions are developed, and then they are deployed at a mass scale. So how do you think this gap, this lacuna that currently exists between academia on one hand and industry on the other, how can it be bridged for maybe say greater knowledge transfer, for unlocking greater entrepreneurial energy, for more creativity? Because this gap, like might be lesser in some countries, it might be more in some other, but a common thread that we keep on hearing is the gap between industry and academia. And since all of you three are from the academia, so you are all well placed to answer this query of mine. So we'll start with Ken.
Yes, thank you. That's a really challenging question. We're seeing more and more people getting into geospatial and new technologies, right? Artificial intelligence, AI, has really democratized access to geospatial data, and for people to be able to do geospatial functions and work with spatial data and do really groundbreaking analysis. However, one warning that I have, without training in GIS, without understanding the fundamentals of geospatial, they miss spatial basics like scale and topology and spatial autocorrelation. That worries me as we start democratizing geospatial. I throw that in there as kind of a groundwork or ground level discussion for how does academia and industry work better together. Well, I think academia needs to be teaching all of our students how to think spatially, how to be able to use those skills critically when they're going out into the work world. We need to do a better job of teaching our students how to address problems, how to look at not teaching them necessarily how to use geospatial technologies, but how to problem solve. That's really important for people to be able to take that into industry. I'll add that I think industry needs to challenge academia more. And I mean that in a good way. I think it's collaboration, but I think that there's a lot that the private sector can ask of us to do more. We have our own way of doing things. We're academia. But I think if the business sector, the NGOs, the government sectors were to reach out to academia and try and work with us more, I think there would be some interest. And I think it would take some work to change those paradigms that we've set up for a long time.
That's very interesting. So both need to come together and mutually reinforce their synergies. Now I'll come to Brigadier Alshehhi. Sir, what do you think needs to be done in this regard?
Well, I think I can elaborate a little more because I came from the governmental sector where I worked previously before NSSTC, and I dealt with industry my whole life. Now coming to the academia, I think bridging the academia industry is very essential to drive the innovation, transfer of knowledge, and creating entrepreneurial value. Actually, to collaborate, research initiative is a key. Allowing academia and industry to jointly tackle the real world challenges. As I said, we deal with something factually happening today. So to add, how can we do that? I think we at NSSTC today are doing that by entrepreneurial education program support by us, the academia, and the student interested in that entrepreneurship, and to open an innovational platform to encourage actually the collaboration between the two sector by resource sharing, also investment on research and development, maximizing the knowledge transfer to entrepreneurship value creation. How this is happening at NSSTC, we have a robust partnership with between academia, granting university staff, student access to our infrastructure, the data and the expertise available to help the student to do that. Bridging the theoretical knowledge with practical hands-on expertise, using the real-world data, and also participating in programs, which is actually something we actually started a program called DROP in COP28 when we in the UAE actually hosted the COP28. It was an initiative for not looking again on the local focus, but widely, globally. We started a program which we are looking at, how can we find the water in Africa utilizing remote sensing data. And we have approached it in a very actually real world, like Miriam was explaining, stories. So we brought farmer from Africa. We brought government body from Africa. They told their stories during the COP28. And they told the world of geospatial and the world of innovation and technology, we are actually forgotten. We have all these issues and problems, and you guys need to get together and help us fix our problems. So today, we are not in crisis, but we are actually trying to deal with the lack of water resources for the community. So the academia, the government, and the industry, I think it's very essential. So we bridge this gap by actually looking at real world issues, solving them by actually providing to the researcher, to the scientist, to the student, an access. And we have taken the student actually to COP28, and they have presented this program to the world. Today, phase 1 is done. We are trying to gather more partnership for that, and to include more people to be interested on actually SDGs. Yes, it's on the top in the titles, but the real plan and the actual work actually it needs a better, closer collaboration. In term, we have agreements. The UA University, NSSTC, we have the MOU signed with global partners in academia. Our industry today, they have also collaboration with other industries, and I think this will help us facilitate things for. We also brought an idea of an entrepreneurial approach for that. Instead of the governments or asking a government to do that, we thought about starting, like 2 or 3 startups to actually, get into this, dealing with an actual world issue to resolve it.
That's actually a very inspirational experience and very useful, vital use case, I must say. And that exemplifies how governments and all private sector and everyone should come together for helping those who don't have access and for devising solutions. So now I'll ask Miriam, what do you think needs to be done?
Yeah, so I have a lot of ideas, but I'm gonna focus on what we actually do in my group at Yale University, and also U-Spatial with Len. They do a fantastic job with that. So Geospatial support services across campus, and I'll explain a little bit the importance of this. So in every university or organization, you always have a group of people that are very skilled on technology, and they might grasp the geospatial concepts very fast. But you have brilliant minds that perhaps are not as familiar with the tools and the foundational concepts. So for that, we need instruction, education, to bring them together with others. So a big group of brilliant minds in our institutions, in academia, can help governments and private sector to get to the point that we need. The pace at which academia evolves the curriculum to align with industry and the world challenges is not as fast as we wish or we need. So the model of higher education to provide these robust and agile geospatial support services, and I said agile, I didn't say fast enough, or I didn't say enough. We need to work a lot to continue growing, but when you have geospatial support services in your campus, you have the opportunity to tweak and generate fast solutions to close those gaps that my colleagues have been talking about. I think geospatial support services is the key. I'm not being humble here, but I would argue geospatial support services are the backbone of geospatial education, innovation, and implementation in higher education, and with the partnerships with private sector, nonprofit, and government. A lot of things are happening, but we need a larger scale. So you have on campus thousands of geospatial users, some testing new geospatial approaches, but their knowledge or available infrastructure to support their proof of concept might not be enough. So it's where we also come to help. We, at the forefront, trying to help those bright minds, are connected to everyone on campus, but also across universities, across the country, and even we have collaborations and networks around the world, like in this case we are discussing this morning. So if someone makes something happen, it would be us trying to empower the geospatial users. So I'm not saying that we are heroes, not at all. The heroes are every single person in our campus, and we just need to make sure that we geo-empower them so they can help to close that gap that you're talking about.
That's a very motivating thought, that the end users and those on the front lines are the actual heroes. You spoke about speed, about scalability, about agility. And these days we hear these things a lot, especially since AI and AI applications have become a buzzword. So, what does the panel think? And this would be my next question. What we talk about technologies coming together, we talk about interoperability, we talk about blurring of boundaries, about fusion of processes. So, how would the convergence between geospatial and artificial intelligence lead to the development of solutions that can maybe help, say, address food security, address global warming, or address, say, water issues or air issues, or any of the issues that are related to sustainability and that can help make the earth a better place for the posterity? So I'll start with Len.
Thank you. Yeah, again, tough questions here. big questions. There's a lot going on, and I think I'll take off of Miriam's as well in being able to support all of the uses of geospatial across campus, whether that's involving AI, machine learning, the new technologies. The technologies of geospatial have become easier. They've become web-based. They're reaching into all of the disciplines throughout our university and beyond. And that's what's creating the collaborations with the other sectors and what's needed to make that happen. Knowing what drives academia is going to help mold our research to meet the needs of industry. We've got a new project here at the University of Minnesota called AI Climate. They're looking at creating new scientific disciplines and innovative ecosystems to address food insecurity, and a multi-institutional program that's just getting underway of how can you look at using geospatial data with the intersection of AI to look at real problems. Again, I think we're seeing that with some of the tools that we're using throughout our geospatial, throughout the geospatial community. It's, again, democratizing it and allowing geospatial to be, geospatial processes and analysis to be done by people who are not GIS experts. Not directly to AI, but we've seen this huge shift as people are using web-based GIS to do their spatial analysis that no longer requires taking a semester-long course. People can start doing analysis online and using the tools there to start making the analysis. AI is only going to advance that and make that much easier for people to be tackling real problems of the world.
Indeed. That's what we all need. Fast solutions and impactful solutions to pressing real world problems. Brigadier Alshehhi, what do you think about it? How would this convergence, I would say this convergence which is happening at a very hyper scale, would lead to solutions that will trickle down to the bottom billion, to the bottom strata, to the ground layer?
I'll underline hyperscale. Okay, we all just agreed. We all just agreed on the importance of the geospatial intelligence. Remain strong, and it further enhanced by advancing on the artificial intelligence. No doubt, as my colleague was explaining, automation. I think this will first facilitate the data fusion and analysis. Secondly, it will provide a spatial understanding to generate a content, enhance its relevance by placing it on the real world, which is the geographic location. Additionally, the geospatial intelligence enable resources optimization by the automation we are discussing to furnish the spatially relevant information for navigation, for route planning, and moreover, it enhances the risk assessment and prediction. So all these different applications, and as you said, it's hyper. It's a lot of data, and it's needed now in a very short time. From a scientific research perspective, we are looking at this from one angle. From the different angle, we're tackling it from the technology side, which is the National Space Science and Technology. So the scientists put the ideas, and we are trying to facilitate the technology to deal with that. Better speed, better compressing the data, dealing with the data in a satellite rather than waiting it to come to the ground. For example, we have a new satellite program called Satellite 813, which is again tackling the environment and doing a hyperspectral remote sensing mission, which data today, hyperspectral is an essential need. But with the size of this data and the quantity of the data needed, we had to look at different means in ground, and also to look at it from how do we tackle this from a space perspective. Do we need to download all this data, or we can do a processing on the satellite itself before it comes down? So there is a lot of different areas where AI comes here and actually enhance how do we utilize in the end the geospatial data to act or react to all these challenges we discussed. We need a lot of data, and we need it in a very short time manner to be provided for a decision to be taken. So there is no time now to wait for the data to come from the satellite to be processed and then to be stored and to be. So the AI is really today playing the vital role, where we look at it, as I said, from two perspectives: from the scientific perspective, from the scientists, from the research, and also when we apply it in a technology, take it in the ground or in a spacecraft, in a satellite. And I think the whole things we do within NSSTC, being within the university, having the global approach, because we don't do this alone anymore. Space is not, you can't tackle this single. You have to have that collaboration from a global perspective. So we did start, I will again elaborate more on this satellite program by saying, okay, we'll deal with this provider where AI and everything will be done in the satellites, and then we also need to enhance the ground. And then we looked at, do we have a better payload, or do we have with more data and better resolution, or we enhance it with that AI component, which will be either in space or in the ground.
So it's a race against time in data analytics, and surely AI has given us that exponential leap. It has empowered us to make that stride and to achieve what was once unattainable. Miriam, what do you think on this?
Well, since my colleagues covered a lot of the importance of how AI can help, I will focus a little more in kind of important aspects of integrating geospatial lens with AI for decision making. In terms of data and speed, we all have heard a lot about ethics, right? These days, different groups are trying to figure out the limits, the thresholds, considerations. So we all do ethical work and teach how to conduct ethical geospatial work. Another thing that I like to talk about is in this revolutionary time when we are putting geospatial technology with AI, we still, for instance, don't even know the real status quo in specific locations of those at disadvantage due to the digital divide. We have elders who cannot access web-based health services, midwives who have no access to databases, for instance, to know where is the closest operating room or hospital with a surgeon so they can send a pregnant mother in critical condition. So geospatial technology champions the support of development of cutting edge and innovative systems. And with AI, it will become even faster. But all these, we should be keeping an eye on those who need a helping hand, because I just think that sometimes we focus so much in innovation and getting to that place that we leave major factors that are still to be resolved and that are not to be put on the side. We cannot forget about those issues, because while we are trying to prepare for what's gonna happen, we need to resolve what it is happening these days. So I don't know. I don't know if I'm sounding pessimistic, but I just wanted to bring to the audience this idea that while everybody is thinking how to innovate, they should tackle also those issues that are part of our communities and are not making them to struggle, but at least making things more complicated. For instance, the digital divide, where people still don't have access to internet, where we believe that everybody has a smartphone. Well, it is not true. There's a lot of people even with a smartphone that they cannot get access to telemedicine, for instance.
Very true, very true. And I would say you're not being pessimistic, you're being realistic. Sometimes bleak reality is better than optimism. And as is the spirit of geospatial, taking everyone along and making a change for better, for good, through incremental changes. So you very well said it. Now, before we wrap up this session, I would like to ask each of the panelists to briefly encapsulate, like provide us with a nutshell, with a digested read view of one most important point that you would like to see changing, that you think needs to be done on priority. Just one point. So I'll start with Len again.
Thanks. Well, I'm going to go back to where I started and back to the SDGs. I think that we need to address, the world, and I'm going to challenge the US. I think the US is behind in looking at this internally and globally of addressing SDGs. We cannot achieve zero hunger without taking into consideration poverty or reduced inequities or good health or well-beings. They're all many of them are related. What I think relates them more so is where. It's our world. It's geospatial.
Exactly.
Everything is happening in a place. Things are happening, yes, at national scale, but a lot of policy, a lot of action, a lot of movement happens at a local scale. So I think that's important. How do we work with the local scale to start addressing these huge problems? There are groups such as the SDG Data Alliance that are putting out data hubs that will allow countries to work with their data, to collect their data. That's the first stage. But then how do we think spatially to take action? I think that's a big piece of it. Again, it's where, it's the place, and all this is happening.
Very well said, sir. Brigadier Alshehhi, what do you think? Any one nutshell, in the nutshell point from you?
I think collaboration is
collaboration. That's
statement.
Actually, that's the need of the hour. Actually, that's a key imperative for all of us.
It's a statement we use. It's MOUs we sign. It is strategies we put. I think focusing on implementation. I'll just see. NSSTC is a small institute within a country in the UAE. The first thing we try to change the look. We try to change who we are. So we said space without border. So the slogan of NSSTC is space without border. So we didn't want to be very localized, but we wanted to be globalized, even if we are small, but we can contribute. And we named the project Drop. So that drop can create oceans, because if we collaborate and we get together, a scientist from the US, a technologist from the UK, surveyor from India, all that efforts collaborating together. I think the other part of this collaboration, I think the bridging the gap, which we discussed. the multidisciplinary within a university, getting the geospatial, in different colleges, promoting the AI to not to ignore the geospatial I think is an important thing. So that triangle of government, industry, academia getting closer, focused, and also focused, but in a global perspective, by resources coming from different institutes, take it from the industry or academia. I think countries has huge projects with the industry. Industry contributing to academia research is not even a second thought. It's an essential things to be included in any country or any global collaboration programs. The industry has to be, within a very close, distance from the academia, to be very, we're getting closer, collaborating, and being a contributor to global things. We have climate change, yes, but we have crisis. So response to crisis will require us getting, I think, together, and together we are strong.
Together we are strong. Indeed. That's a very powerful call to action. And as you spoke about the triangle, so we have Geospatial to triangulate the triangle, to take stockade also if the triangle is working in concert or not. So now I'll come to Miriam. Miriam, what is the one biggest takeaway from your side, the one digested read that we can take, that our audience can take?
Yeah, for those who are listening, I hope the concept of the Geospatial support services grab their attention. We, a group of us, including Len, we are trying to spread the word about the benefits of having those services on your organization, and it doesn't need to be only academia. I would say that even if you are in a government agency, even in private sector, you don't need to have the one person to go and ask for a map. You get that the services can create champions across the organization, and then it becomes a special. And his colleagues wrote a book about how to build a spatial university. I recommend that you take a look. But also, I would say I've been collaborating, and now my colleagues in the US are collaborating too with a group of faculty members in Mexico. And we've been offering a conference, a really great conference that will happen this September. It's called the GIS LATAM conference. And what I want to share, just for the audience to get an idea that it's not that difficult to start the services. Now, 2 colleagues have established in Mexico a student club, and they are trying to do cross-pollination and helping each other. And another professor is building a lab where not only research will happen, but also consultations and training. So I invite everyone to reach out and let us know if you are intrigued by this idea. I would be more than happy, and I know that I can speak for Len. We can just share how we learn. And I had the opportunity to work before Yale at Texas A&M University, and we start that from scratch. That's why I know it's feasible, and you can work with little budget to no budget. So just reach out, and you'll see a difference.
I'm pretty sure that a lot of our viewers would be more than interested in knowing more about this endeavor. And with this, I express my thanks to all of you, to the panelists, for such a thought-provoking and such an insightful discussion. And it was a real pleasure interacting with you all on some of the pressing issues and how geospatially we can come together and help. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yes. Thanks.